So, 1 year ago today, the entire world began to know how dangerous and how real COVID-19 was. Major news organizations, and talking about this week in 2020, I went back and actually looked, did the Google search and everything like that. They're reporting things like the White House has advised people not to gather in groups of more than 10 people. France has banned all family and social gatherings and closed its borders. Canada will deny entry to anyone who isn't a citizen or permanent resident. The New York Times, their biggest headlines on March 16th, when it was getting crazy with COVID, was, Trump says he's strongly considering pardoning Flynn. Does Florida really want ex-felons to vote? But they did have a couple of COVID headlines in the middle of, doing everything they can to destroy Donald Trump 40 times a day. Like, a man with 17,700 bottles of hand sanitizer just donated them. Another headline from the New York Times is, how to work from home if your company closes its offices. So everyone was getting very familiar with COVID. And this is around the time we started to close restaurants, bars, gyms, almost everything, right? Being mandated to be closed. We're running out of ventilators, very scary stuff. Don't forget that. And confirmed COVID cases were just 14,000 total for the U.S. Total. Of what we knew, it was probably well over 100,000, but that's when we just began testing. And to put that in perspective, today, looking at cases, and actually we'll go back to December, it was 50,000 a day. Remember, it's 14,000 total a year from today. But in December, 50,000 cases. Around 30 million people today have had COVID in the U.S., while 535,000 people have died, which is an unbelievable number, right? It's very sad. So during this time, we just started to learn about this dreadful virus. Everyone was really scared. They should be. It was something new, something never happened, something we never saw. We didn't understand it. And now every single state, it was 14,000 total, had confirmed cases. We were watching the death rate start to spike in other countries, through Europe, Italy, France. The entire world was put on hold. And what was really cool about this situation, you find a positive from it, is every large cap pharmaceutical company, biotech company, scientists, doctors, everyone joined together, started researching the shit out of COVID, launching studies, launching major research reports, research projects, learning how it spreads, who it targets, how we could prevent the spread of it, how to keep people alive once they got it, along with how can we come up with a vaccine as fast as possible. That will help us eradicate the virus. And the quickest we had a vaccine come to market was 4 years. It's pretty amazing when you look at what these pharmaceutical companies were able to do to come out with a vaccine this quick. Pretty awesome. But everyone was doing everything in their power to learn about COVID-19. And I thought that was pretty cool. Everybody just coming together. Now, in 2 months' time, say around May, a lot of this data was being published. We learned so much about this disease by May. Like how young kids don't really get it easily. And now if you're under 12, you have close to the same rate as dying from COVID than dying from the flu. This is based on CDC data. This is a CDC. Don't get mad at me. Don't send me Frank because of research. Send it to CDC if you're pissed off. I'm just reporting what's on their site. We learned that this disease is incredibly dangerous for people over 65, and even more dangerous if you're over 65 and an underlying condition, so we know who it targeted. So during this time, we had doctors, scientists, suggestions were made to stay 6 feet apart and wear masks at all time. Now, that was not based on science. That was just common sense, especially on masks, which, why would you wear a mask? Because it's going to help you avoid a stranger from basically spitting in your mouth, right? From their mouth. They call it droplets. And that's going to prevent it, which only happens if you're basically intimate with someone, or if you're talking inside of 2 feet, which almost only happens when you're talking to people that you know, but we all had to wear masks. And they said the science and the data. No, not really. Everyone bought it. 6 feet of distancing, wear masks at all times. Even when you have sex with your spouse, they were telling you to wear a mask when you have sex with your spouse. Obviously, they probably didn't have a spouse. Be sure to wash your privates with antibacterial soap. Wash your hands 20 times a day. I thought it was funny how doctors and politicians started comparing it to the Asian culture, which failed to mention that, they wear masks. You see them wear masks when if you I went to China, you see them wear masks, but they wear masks when they're actually sick. They forgot to mention that. They don't wear masks when they're not sick in hopes that they're not going to spread a disease they don't have to people they don't know. No, it's not why they were wearing masks. They didn't explain that. You didn't need to explain that. It's okay. Doesn't matter. But saying masks prevent the spread of COVID is like saying if you wear a hazmat suit, you will not be infected by anything ever, which is, pretty cool. No kidding. You're wrapped in a plastic covering all over your body. We don't do that because we have pretty good immune systems, fights off tons of diseases and viruses, and there's significant consequences for us wearing a hazmat suit 24 hours a day. Remember that point. Significant consequences. The significant consequences of making big decisions are what happens if you make a decision and what happens if you don't. I'm going to explain this very important point in a minute and get back to it. Now, I always question mask use, but I wore a mask. I wear a mask now when I go to stores, indoors. I have Curzio research masks made up for my employees. Basically wear it out of respect to older people who should fear contracting COVID-19. I get it. But for me, my family, me, we already had COVID, so I'm not going to catch it again, no matter what people try to tell you. You're not going to catch it again. Yes, there's a case in England that's just like with the chicken pox, right? If you get it, you don't get it again, but there's a few people that get it again. But with all the people that have it, I mean, it's probably 0.00001% that actually get it again. But you're going to hear that story because that's a great story to tell, right? That's a great story to tell in the media. You want to scare the shit out of people. This way people are clicking, and that's how they make a fortune, right? They want to scare the crap out of you. They don't want to report to you how everything's okay now and you're good. No, it doesn't work. You don't make money by doing that. But when I question masks on social media, holy cow, people just wanted to kill me. Trash the crap out of me. Frank, you're an idiot. You don't know nothing. And it's not because they had facts. It was because they were conditioned by the media to believe that you're basically going to die if you don't wear a mask or distance yourself 6 feet apart. In Florida, it was never that extreme, but in New York and California, it was. I mean, people will beat the shit out of you if you walk down the street. If you walk into a store without a mask, they'll kill you. They go, what are you, crazy? Oh, my God, you're going to die. Relax. 99.5% survival rate. You're going to be okay. And these are like 35, 40-year-old people who this disease really doesn't impact them that much. And they're going to be okay. It's like a mild flu to them. But it's funny on social media, right? I can post something that about a stock, provide original analysis to social media channels, say this is going to, and I get a few responses, great analysis on something really quick. This is something you should be looking at. I get a few responses. If I talk about COVID, where I had great knowledge of this disease, talking to numerous doctors, interviewing people in quarantine zones in China and Italy on this podcast, warning you to get out of the market ahead of time, understanding this disease very, very early on because of the context that I have. Just lucky to have before we locked down the U.S., but nobody cared. They just, hey, we watch TV, we watch this channel, and this is the way it is. They wanted to believe what they wanted to believe, or what they're being told. At the end of the day, it's what you read and what you're being told, right? So you find the information that's happening all around the world. How do you find it? You go on the internet and you read a story, or somebody tells you about it, and you're assuming that that's the truth, but I don't know. Now, March through May, Dr. Fauci became a superstar. Took center stage, talking about how you didn't need to worry about COVID in January and February, saying that we don't need to lock down or wear masks. We're not going to need that. And then totally flipped, saying that masks are needed. And this disease is very dangerous. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. I like people who change their mind when the data changes. We see it in the market all the time with perma-bears who continue to tell you to sell all stocks over the past 7 years. The market's going to crash, even though the Fed mandated low interest rates forever. And the Fed pumped nonstop stimulus into the markets. Now we're talking trillions and trillions and trillions, and more is coming, even after this 1.9 trillion. But you never change your thesis, even though the facts change. But then something interesting happened. We saw numerous doctors. A lot of these people were dying to be celebrities, love the celebrity status. I've seen this happen to people in my industry when they become TV personalities. Holy shit. It's like you don't even know the person. It's totally different. It really messes with you. It really does. You have to look good all the time. You wake up out of bed, you're going to look good. You have to look good. Everybody's watching you. That's all you care about. It changes your life. It really does. When you have that kind of, a lot of my friends in the industry just became really different. The more bigger they got, especially when they were on TV. Doctors, I guess everyone would be the same way, right? Everybody wants to be on TV. A lot of people want to be on TV and be famous. They don't know what to be famous for. They just say, I want to be famous. because they're on TV. But we saw this among doctors. They went on TV to promote mask wearing, social distancing. Some of these doctors also suggested that we close schools immediately. This was based on science, they said, even though there was zero science that told us we needed to close schools immediately. We just closed them because we were scared and saw this. But this is like in May, right? So we started at March, at the end of March, a lot of schools closed. And then to April, started getting the data, May getting the data, and they're like, we got to stay closed. We got to stay closed. And the data showed that this doesn't impact kids. It's not spread too much through kids. Now, around this time, in May, numerous doctors began to email me from my network. I never realized how many doctors listen to my show. I do understand doctors and stocks go together, like unbelievably, which is really, really cool. Risk takers. But I have a lot of doctors that listen to me. I didn't know. And they started reaching out to me. They were telling me how they were being suppressed, how they couldn't talk publicly about COVID or express their true feelings as people who are in the field treating patients. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. COVID, a brand new virus, very little about. Yet we're not letting doctors who are in the field treating patients, trying new things to help them, right? This is a stage where we're just learning, but they won't let them speak out. Why is that? If you look at the goal of science, is to question everything and then test everything and then let the data do the talking. The data do the talking, not opinion, data. That's how we figure out problems, how we save lives. There's no ego involved, just data in hopes of making the world a safer place for the next generation and the one after that. But that wasn't the case here. It's masks 6 feet apart, or you're going to be banned from every social media site if you disagree with that mandate. And you may actually lose your job if you're a doctor and you say that. Especially if you speak out publicly on public platforms. Don't do it. Don't speak out against status quo. This is the mandate. That's it. Don't question it. Don't try to figure it out. So we weren't allowed to voice our opinion in a free country that has free speech. Couldn't do it. So what does that leave your informational, right? Where do you get your informational providers? Where are you getting it from? It's the media. They shut everybody off, close everybody off, and the media was telling you basically a fear for your life because you have a risk of dying if you get COVID, which is in their best benefit. Again, no data available in May showing anything about masks working, 6 feet apart working. There was data available showing that 98% of people under 50 years old survived this disease, and that number is much higher today than 98%. More people getting tested, getting more data. But again, they told everyone to stay home, wear masks. All stores except the ones our government selected, the Walmarts, Targets, Home Depots, CVS's, supermarkets, all the stores had to close. So, too bad. Even if you provide the same services as Walmart or Target or whatever, gotta close. Forced to close. And be sure to stay 6 feet away from everyone if you go out. In fact, stores that were allowed to stay open, they needed to put stickers on the floor to make sure people abide by these rules. Like we're all effing idiots and we don't know how far 6 feet's apart. No, stand here. Stand here. There's a big sticker there. You're not standing on the sticker. Stand here. These stickers are still there today. Are you kidding me? This way we all know exactly how far 6 feet is.